The USA is preparing to launch coronavirus testing on domestic flights. In an effort to reduce the spread of COVID-19 in the US, the Biden administration is looking at taking the additional step of testing on domestic flights to stop the spread of cases across the US. In this video, we discuss the proposals to introduce domestic flight COVID testing and the current position on international flights entering the US. We also discuss the concerns being raised and what type of testing may be acceptable. But first, we want to thank you for joining us. Find us on all the other social media channels, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel and click that bell to get notified when we release a new video. We also appreciate your likes and comments below, as it helps to support our channel. This video is brought to you by IAM. We believe that travel improves and inspires you and the people around you. We help you travel by providing services which overcome barriers and frameworks that simplify and enrich your experience. We just happen to be immigration lawyers. So reach out to your IAM visa coordinator when you're ready for your adventure, or already on one and would like some assistance. In an effort to narrow down the spread of coronavirus across the states, the Biden administration is considering a rule that would require a negative test result for domestic air travel. As coronavirus continues to wreak havoc across the states, recording more than 100,000 daily infections, the Biden administration is looking into potential avenues to reduce the spread. In an interview, Mayor Pete, now U.S. Transportation Secretary, mentioned, "There's an active conversation with the CEC right now." He also made it clear that any potential decision on the matter would be guided by data, by science, by medicine, and by the input of the people who are actually going to have to carry this out. Dr. Rochelle Walensky, director of the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, said that screening U.S. travelers for COVID-19 could be helpful. But she did not expand upon whether there are plans to test domestic travelers. To the extent that we have available tests to be able to do testing, first and foremost, I would really encourage people to not travel, Walensky said during a White House briefing. But if we are traveling, this would be yet another mitigation measure to try and decrease the spread. From the 26th of January, all international air passengers aged 2 and older must show proof of a negative COVID-19 test result to enter the United States. Passengers need to get tested no more than 3 days before they travel by air into the United States and show their negative result to the airline before they board their flight, or be prepared to show documentation of recovery. Both PCR and antigen tests are acceptable. Proof of a recent positive viral test and a letter from a healthcare provider or a public health official stating that you were cleared to travel will also be accepted. Also, each layover between those connections cannot be longer than 24 hours. If your connecting flight to the US was booked separately, or you have a longer connection, you need to get tested within the 3 days before your final flight departs for the US. If your flight is delayed past the 3-day window, you must take another test to board your flight. CEC Director Rochelle Walensky stated that carrying out tests at the airport could reduce the spread of the disease by those who are carrying the virus but are unaware of the fact due to a lack of symptoms. Their COVID-positive status would be picked up by the tests, meaning they would be unable to board a plane and spread the virus around the country. Walensky pointed out the fact that there is a lot of gathering that happens at airports, and so such a decision being implemented would be another mitigation measure to try and decrease risk. If this rule is mandated, it is possible that domestic testing policy could end up reflecting the international testing policy. The U.S. Travel Association, a national non-profit industry body, hailed that rule for inbound travelers as key to reopening international travel. However, the group does not support a testing requirement for domestic air travelers. The group called mandatory testing for domestic travelers impractical, noting that there aren't defined ports of entry, and that such a measure could divert scarce public health resources away from other priorities. Industry body Airlines for America has also expressed concern about the possible testing requirement for domestic air travel. In a recent letter to the White House, the organization highlighted the risk-based measures to stemming COVID-19 transmission that the industry has adopted, and research showing that the risk of in-flight infection is low. Given the strong scientific evidence that the risk of COVID-19 transmission on board an aircraft is very low, we believe that a testing requirement for domestic air travel is unwarranted, the letter reads. Further, public health and economic data indicate that this policy would disproportionately prevent low-income travelers and rural Americans in small communities from travel. The U.S. federal government has been mulling additional measures to fight the spread of the coronavirus. Currently, the Biden administration has made no decisions on adding new requirements on domestic air travel. What are your thoughts on this issue? Do you agree to mandatory testing for domestic flights? Talk to us in the comments section below. If you need assistance with a visa to Europe, the UK, or the US, including help with securing your travel arrangements, IAM can help. For visa advice, contact your IAM visa coordinator. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell for more travel and visa updates.